definitely want to get this.
How do you need this need to be flat? What was that? Are plates fine? Or do they need to be flat? Flat.
It should be fun.
For Ashley, she's a sleeper.
I bet no, she's like super creative. Like I bet yours will be like.
She'll do well.
I'm
She'll
gonna
do
have
well.
origami. What are these called? Ones
So obviously the challenge is for me to beat Ashley.
Mine just look like giant
Dumplings.
Yeah, you got to explain.
I've just been checking every day. But now the prices have dropped $30 per person.
How much is it right now? So,
177.
yeah, I looked at it and I saw flights. I don't remember what airline, but it was like 120 the other day. Yeah.
Where do you book them?
Ireland, I wonder.
Hey, Filipina.
Yeah.
Filipina.
I don't remember.
Filipina.
What?
Put the date in there?
Explain to us what a lumpia is.
Yeah, look.
Can you Google it?
The lumpia is a Filipino egg roll, and it is the most delicious thing in the world.
Simple enough.
Isn't it?
That
No.
covers it. All right, let's get lumpy. Lumpia.
Alright, so you gotta scoop about a spoonful.
Here you go.
You put it in the corner, just like that. You see?
Uh-huh.
Alright. And then,
I'm her dumb friend.
and then you roll it over, but you have to make it
Don't
really
make that
skinny.
noise.
Do you need a pen, Ashley?
I actually don't get that joke.
Oh God, you guys. Alright, so you're gonna squish it. Are you guys watching me squish it?
Yes. Make it skinny.
So you
squish.
squish it, you make it skinny, and then you roll over each side. Like this. And then you just roll the guy up.
It's a real
Whoa, that came out good. That was the first one. Usually it takes a few.
And then
Okay.
once you roll it up to the top, you take this and you put a little bit egg wash on there. And then you close it up.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Hey.
Wow, that's really good.
There we go.
And then make it skinny, like long and skinny. Yeah.
Like
And
that?
then roll on each. So roll it up a little bit more.
Give him
so
help
it
after the
stays
first one. The
Yeah.
first one's got to be.
Okay. Let me.
Hey, that's a lumpia.
tight. Ooh, that looks good, Ashley.
Thanks. Where did I put it?
That one looks.
And this plate right here.
That one's a little Chinesey, but hey.
Yeah, so they're actually supposed to be super long and skinny, but I never ate them like that.
Oh.
That's the goal.
what lumpia is.
Yeah, those
Like
skinny, like super
Yeah,
long
like
ones.
they look like.
But whenever me and my mom made them, they were always just a little fat and chunkier. Because we like more
America.
meat, so we're just gonna go with that.
It's
Can
beautiful,
I usually
Wow.
quite frankly.
fry it
No,
like
we got
pan
some
fry
naturals
it
up in here.
and a little bit of oil, so it's like not. But I mean, you totally can deep fry it.
They're doing so much better than we did our first time. Well, not our first time. It was your first time in a while and my first time.
You did really good though, Bert.
I did.
And we should do that.
No, for real. I had
know.
ladies
Dude,
come
they
up to
actually
me
are. I'm not
and
kidding.
offered
Like
me
I used to.
tamales, and I was like, "How much?" And she had just like a big Ziploc bag right in her cat.
It's always like in a Safeway.
Like,
It's like kind of something about it.
All right, so we got our lumpias. This one is perfect. This one is mine.
That's what it should look like.
That's what it should look like.
Show us.
This is Berto.
Don't put that on me.
You literally did this.
No,
What is this? It's a burrito.
leave it to me. One of those things that you miss about the off season. Some of your favorite foods, and a lot of those are back in the rotation. Lumpia being one of them. Good times. And besides those sort of social events, hey, I'm getting social lifts in with my friends. Hey, these young guys right here, they've been joining me about once a week, and it's been pretty good. Just to kind of have some young blood in there and kind of take you back to when, I wouldn't say you love this more, but it was that golden era. It was like that honeymoon phase. So it's been really nice to get to vibe off their energy and I think be useful to them as well. So I've totally enjoyed my social lifts as well. You know, when you're prepping, sometimes it's like, okay, I have like 70 minutes before I hit that wall, and you have to be more efficient with your time. But right now it's one of those things where, hey, it's the gym is like my social. It's social time for me, especially given the fact that I do work at home. So yeah, things have been good. but they've also been really busy. So before I get into what is the purpose of this entry, I wanted to have that Q&A that I threw up on Instagram right here. But just really briefly, so a few things happened. Remember how I switched over? Those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I've switched over from having a typical schedule to kind of going more night owl. So I switched. My day's a little backwards now. A lot of the athletes that I work with aren't like athletes that I work with, daily or weekly, but more so they come in, they're my Skype athletes. So basically they come in, they get their programming, they go do their thing for a few months, they come back, we retouch it, and we rinse and repeat. So a lot of my folks got thrown off by the times, and what ended up happening is a lot of people couldn't make their appointment. So I had to Skype basically with people like during like some of the weirdest times. It was also tax season for us as a company, and I am the person who's in charge of that. So between all those things, my sessions were like just a bit all over the place, and just was not the right time to progress and push given everything. So what I ended up doing was basically going into the gym, having a few loose guidelines, but more than anything, just lifting some weight, rehearsing some new movements that I wanted to start throwing in to the training cycle. So for example, I've been front squatting for about a year and a half. I want to go ahead and throw in the back squat for a while, and then the floor press is another one that you'll see. So yeah, just kind of seeing where I'm at with these movements, and then from this point on, just really getting to them. I'm also going to change one major thing in my training split. We'll go over that in my next journal entry, but the reasons for it, it's more so to have social time with some of my buddies. So I'm kind of adjusting my schedule for the sake of my friends. But we'll get into that some other time. What I want to do is get into these questions that you guys asked on the IGs, and what I ended up doing is the questions that had the most likes. Those are the ones we're going to go over. So let's get it started. So Army Ted asked, how has the culture surrounding fitness and bodybuilding changed in your eyes since you started training versus now? It's way more inclusive, absolutely. And I kind of went over that in my last entry where there's something for everyone. Fitness is kind of cool now. I think it was always something that like people, that wasn't shunned upon. Like if you were a fit, healthy person, it was kind of a positive thing. But I think like now it's really odd because I was always looked at as like mildly obsessive when it came to my lifting of the weights and eating of the protein. But now I'll see like my friends, and mind you, they're like in their mid-30s, man, and they're on Instagram taking selfies with a protein shaker in the gym bathroom. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is the fact that it's cool now. It's cool, and it comes in so many different shapes. Like you could be a CrossFitter, you could be a powerlifter. You can there's other divisions within a bodybuilding show that aren't like as intimidating for people who are starting out. So yeah, much more inclusive is probably the biggest difference above anything else. Let's see. Next, my coaching journey. All right, this is from my coaching journey. If you have only time for one single exercise, what would it be and why? I'd say, so cliche, the back squat, simply because a lot of joints are moving, a lot of carryover to a lot of things outside of your life. Mind you, if I only have one exercise, like bodybuilding's out the window. More than anything, it's just something to stay healthy, to stay active, to prevent the muscle loss that happens as we age. So that would be it, because like a lot of your joints are moving, so you have the mobility component, a lot of muscles are active, so that's a bonus. And then since it is a big movement and a lot of things are moving, they're cardiovascularly a very challenging exercise. So I would go with the squat. That would I think if I look at just one movement, it would definitely improve all my health markers immensely. Like being sedentary to like, hey, I'm a dude that goes in there and squats like 3 times a week. I definitely say that would impact a whole lot of things for the better. let's see. All right, so next one. James Van Boyd, how do you count volume for compound lifts? For example, bench hits chest, triceps, and shoulders. What would it be? Okay, so like depending. Okay, so for example, instead of going like through reps or tonnage, right? What I like to do is just like the number of sets that you do per body part. And the way I kind of like to look at this is everything that's tagging along outside of the main mover. So for example, on a squat, you have your hamstrings, you have your glutes, you have your spinal erectors, you have your calves, upper back. A lot of things are moving, but I'd say that the second primary mover. So for example, on the squat, I shouldn't have said upper back. I wouldn't necessarily count that, but I would count calves. I would count hamstrings, glutes, spinal erectors. I would say that I'd give them like half the work. So for example, if I did 4 sets of squats, I'd say that I would tally up 2 sets across all other movements. So same thing for a press. It'd be 4 sets of say, flat dumbbell pressing. I would count 2 sets for the delts, 2 sets for the triceps. So that's the most practical way I have been able to like tally that up when designing my own program or programs for my athletes. Let's see, next one. Darko Gym Fitness. Talk about libido and contest diet, your experience, how to overcome it, and can any supplements help you? So yeah, I'd say that for the most part, every contest prep I have had, my libido has pretty much remained intact. The only time that it actually did take a hit was my first contest prep. I did a high-fat, low-carb diet, and that just completely like threw like my system out of whack. It was just the weirdest thing. I remember being like 24 years old and just freaked out because I didn't like girls. I had no urge to do such things. I read up on it, and I found out that it's normal. Nevertheless, it kind of like threw me off. I'm like, how does that even happen? And since then, every prep that I have had, I've been able to make that a part of my life. Absolutely. The extracurriculars. I'd say that for one, I do have a system that is a little bit more resilient than others. I don't necessarily feel too neutered per se, but I will say that like anything else, performance just starts to slip. And what I mean by that is just the amount of, like effort that it takes to do just about anything else. The same thing can be applied to that if you're doing the damn thing. I will not go any deeper than that. Pun not intended. No play of words there. But because you guys don't need to know more about that. But yes, it's like everything else. It's like, when I'm when I'm playing with my dogs, I try to be more there. When I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm like through a mild going through a moment of like hungry and zombie, you just kind of have to make an effort to be more there. I think that's probably the biggest thing. I will say this about like 95 to 90% of people who do contest prep will see that take a hit, and this goes for both genders. And it's, I think, something that now is more commonly known, and like most people don't learn like the way I did. Like I totally freaked out, learned that it was like something that is normal, that does happen, and then exhale, like, okay, I'm cool, I'm normal. But it's something that you can expect, and I would say that for those athletes that are going through this for the first time and they are seeing someone, I think it'd be a good talk to have prior to getting deep into the prep. Just kind of give them a warning about that, and stay on your toes. Like, look for other ways, because sex is an important part of any healthy relationship, and you're probably going to have to substitute that with something else, just to really let the person know that hey, I'm still into you. So like whatever it is, like, hey, buy her flowers, like have the dates pre-planned or something like that. just whatever it is your partner likes, like whatever it makes them feel loved outside of yeah, do some of that and schedule it, because sometimes, again, self-awareness sometimes when you're prepping just kind of goes out the window. So yeah, that is this is 3D Muscle Journey Love Line Radio. Next question. Let's see. Coach Alexander Crump, when you could have a talk with your former self, what would you tell him at the beginning of his journey? So remember, guys, a lot of these people who write these are from many different places around the world. So I just read them as they are. Thank you for your question, Coach. Yeah, dude, I'd say don't get hurt. I think that's a big one, especially if hard work is something that you don't have a problem with. And then I'd say the other one is don't pretend to know more than you actually do, and get yourself some guidance early, but like be very picky about who you let guide you. Those are probably the number one things. I think I was of the idea that if I kind of did this on my own, I would learn more. But it kind of works the other way around. There's a lot of stuff out there that's already, I guess you could say, has been discovered. And instead of kind of getting to that point the hard way, you can have someone just fill you in on the fundamentals, and it's going to save you a whole lot of trouble. If they are a good coach, they will educate you as you go through the process. So yeah, those are probably the three things. Okay, next one is from my boy Evan. What is the biggest thing natural federations are doing right at the moment, and what do you think is the biggest mistake they are making, or area that could be improved for the betterment of the sport and its athletes? Yeah, I'd say that getting more young people involved, I think, is huge. And I think one thing they are doing is a lot of these newer divisions, they're bringing them in. I think a lot of the fundamentalist bodybuilders kind of feel like, the bikini, the men's physique, classic physique, I don't get. That's a different story. But there's just no need for it in natural bodybuilding. But I love the idea that there's other divisions. I think it's overall it's helped the sport. Absolutely. Makes shows longer, but it has helped the sport. I would say that getting them involved in other ways, and what I mean by that is just hiring some young blood to basically help them, especially on the marketing end, like what is cool, what is hip. That is where having some young, 20-something-year-olds like running your IG, running your YouTube, like that's where it comes in handy, because a lot of the people, and God bless them, they're doing their best. They're kind of from the old school, so they don't really fully understand the flavors and how they work. So that's probably the one thing, is just getting some young minds in there to make tested physique sports just a little bit more cooler. I think the next thing would be just standardizing the sport a lot more throughout all divisions. So that's one thing the USAPL does really good. It's like, these are the rules. USAPL is like the tested powerlifting, for those of you who don't follow powerlifting, and their rules are their rules, and they're super consistent with them across the board. And I think that's something that, especially with a subjective sport, you need to you really need to pin down. Otherwise, it gets really confusing, it gets really murky, and it just kind of can become a shit show at times. So yeah, I'd say just kind of standardize everything, like the criteria, the way shows are ran, all that sort of stuff is I think super important in order to make a sport. So let's not make up rules as we go along. Next up, let's see. Good question, Evan. Kevin Rojas, I saw your podcast. I was wondering how lower volume training has been treating you so far, and do you think this has to do with what Mike Israel calls adaptive resistance from training in those hypertrophy rep ranges for most of your training career? Okay, so basically what this person's saying is that I'm being resensitized to stimulus. No, I don't. It wouldn't make sense that it works that way. Think of any other adaptation. If you're just getting too much sun, you just get a sunburn, right? It's not one of those things where. Okay, so you're just getting a sunburn is what happens, right? And let's just say we pull you away from the sun for a while, you get really pale, and then we throw you back out there with the right amounts and you start to retan. It's not like you get back to your it's not like you basically get back to your former levels of tan, right? It's not like because you got pale again, now you're able to get to your previous tan PRs and exceed them. No, you just get back to where you were. And I think that's why people who take layoffs, they come back and they see fantastic progress. Hey, muscle memory, right? Your body's really good at, the second time around when it comes to these adaptations, it's already kind of been through. It kind of knows. It's like it is a memory thing. It's like a reflex. It's like, oh, I know what's going on. We're lifting weights again. Let's do that thing we did already. It makes sense, right? To kind of stay ahead of the curve if you have been exposed to this sort of stimulus. So no, I don't feel that you can resensitize the system. What I feel happens is, if you overdid it, you took a step back, basically you're just going to progress the way you should have been. And I think most people just get the dosages wrong. That's what it is. Most people want to do too much way too early. So that's what I feel is going on, is that I think in some ways I got my dosage wrong. At least I think so. We might find it to be different in a few more weeks, a few more months. Because I had been lifting for a while, you can't really look at, I think 1 month, 2 months. Like you need, I'd say honestly, about a quarter of the year, a third of the year to really assess, especially when it comes to muscular growth. Like, is this working? So that's what happened. I think we're getting closer to the sweet spot in regards to how much stimulus I require in order to progress when it comes to putting on the muscle. Let's see, next one. All right. How can an athlete find out for, and this name is USCHL, Ustral. How can an athlete find out for, this is Marcel, my boy Marcel. That's why I didn't put it in there. Marcel, what's up, dude? So how can an athlete find out if they run better on lower fat or lower carb? If she runs better on lower fat, higher carb, or higher fat, lower carb? I'd say that honestly, the best thing you can do is kind of give yourself trial runs. When it comes to fat loss, like set up similar like caloric amounts, because fat loss tells you everything. You just become so much more transparent to how you work when there just isn't enough food. So the best time I think to experiment with this, and usually if it works this way on the way down, it works that way on the way up. Just kind of go through, say 2,000 calories is your sweet spot to lose weight. Try a higher fat and then try a lower carb, not like during the same fat loss phase, but run a few different fat loss phases and make sure that a lot of the other variables are similar. So it's something that I learned that way, where like not the hard way, but like going through fat loss phases where basically there isn't enough of anything to go around. And when one of those key substrates, whether it be fat or carbs, and again, most people who do lift weights, because of the nature of the energy systems that we use, carbs are super important. But there are some people out there who just do better on I guess slightly higher fat intakes, slightly, because again, I still think most people who lift weights, even at the top end, you're going to be somewhere around 35-ish% of your total calories. On the lower end, somewhere around 15-ish%. So a pretty big difference when you compare both like extreme ends of the spectrum. However, most people aren't on neither one of those sides. Most people are kind of in the middle, and it doesn't matter too much. But there are some folks on both ends to whom it does matter. So for example, I'm really on the I'm on the extreme end of I respond way better to higher carb, lower fat diets. So yeah, that would be the best way to find out during a fat loss phase. It'll be very, very clear. All right, so here we go. B Fitness 2016. Why is it so hard to convert from shredding mentality to bulking mentality, to the bulking mentality? Does it take less of a psychological toll the more you do it? Yeah, absolutely. I think once you've seen it work well on both ends, you just believe. I won't say believe, but you understand the importance of both phases. So I think that's the biggest thing. If you've never had a successful bulking phase, you're gonna have a hard time committing to like, hey, I am going to change the way my body looks via overeating, controlled overeating, and lifting weights. And the same thing for the folks the other way. I was kind of the other way where I had a lot of botched like fat loss attempts, and a lot of bots. Like I would do it for like 2 weeks. They were poorly designed, and then I'd bail out. So for me, it was like I didn't really like, I didn't trust like the under eating and lifting weights part through most of my early 20s. So again, once you see success on both ends, you're going to be a lot less emotionally attached to either phase, because again, you find yourself successful on either end. So that's that one. That was a very good question. The way it was worded really set me up. So thank you. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of very similar to the first one. Let's see. Very similar. Actually, it was the same question. It was the one about how the culture has changed. I guess I typed that one in twice. But a lot of these questions didn't get. I was gonna pick the most popular ones, the ones that had the most but everyone just wanted to ask their own questions. But I hope that that helps someone. And again, it was just a week where my stuff was all over the place. And there's something to be learned from this is the fact that, like I have my stuff like pretty squared away. I wouldn't say I'm pretty tight with my systems, but I'm also very pliable. And like when shit kind of hits the fan in a way, like that's where it pays off to understand that there is no, I guess, right or wrong, black and white. There's these principles, there's these tools that you have, and you can apply them to whatever is going on. So yeah, I can't wait to get back to a more structured routine after these last 2 weeks. But yeah, like my off seasons are never perfect. Like things like this happen all the time. I have to work with what is there. And I think because I know a decent amount at this point, I am able to make some pretty good decisions on the fly. So overall, pretty pleased with how things went this last week. I think in regards to the way I am looking, man, like we're getting there. Like we got some off-season thickness going on. I really love the way my body comp looks at this body weight. I like the way I feel, but I know that we're just going to basically continue growing from here, and there will be certain points where I don't necessarily love the way I look, and that's okay. Check out the booty with every row here. There we go. Yeah, so hey, stay in that plank position, full body irrigation. Look up what irrigation is. I think it's a pretty important concept when it comes to anything we do in the gym, even as bodybuilders. Everything tight. But overall, I did what I could with what was there, and I am looking forward to the structure. But I think it is nice knowing that, hey, if something does happen that throws me off, I will 9 times out of 10 have the right response. So yeah, next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up what the changes are to my training split. Again, some movements. I'm also rearranging the split a little bit so that I can get some social training sessions in. So basically, I'll just throw it out there, but I'll I'll get a little bit deeper into this next week. I'm throwing in a bicep and chest day on one of the days of the week, simply because it lets me train at almost any gym. I'm not condemned to having to train at Iron Prodigy, where like I have these like really cool machines that I want to take advantage of. But on that day, basically, that can take place in any gym. There's a gym across town that I used to go to, but I don't go to as frequently. A lot of my powerlifter friends train there, and I miss them, and I just want to train with them. And that way I can get at least one session with them throughout the week. So yeah, I am basically adding a fifth day. It was a 4-day split, as you guys know, but I'm adding a fifth day because I'm kind of redistributing the volume, and so that I can head over and train with them. So yeah, usually when you add a training day to your week, it's it's like my social life just kind of took a hit, right? It's like my weekends or that, right? But with this, it's actually because the gym is, a lot of my friends, like they're gym rats. And there's a collection of them who I just haven't seen in a while, and I want to start like seeing them more frequently. So yeah, that is where I'm at. So this is what I put together for you guys. Please forgive me for the small disruption in the journal, but hey, it's like anything else, right? It's like sometimes people fall off when it comes to training, and it's like what you should do. It's not dwell on it or say like forget about it. Is just get right back on it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So yeah, 2 weeks worth of just like gym shenanigans in one entry, a Q&A, and yeah, next week I will have a lot more to talk about, because it's going to be more like any other week with a few adjustments, which we'll get into next week. So I'll leave it there, and I'll see you guys next week. I swear, next week, right here. I'll see you.